Right. Hi,
Hey,
Kristene.
Cassidy, founder and creator of the Caregivers Hub. Welcome to our monthly Caregivers Hub Hangouts. And today I am with my lovely friends and caregiving warriors. And you guys are just so fucking awesome, is all I have to say. Um, and yes, we use passionate curse words here. So anywho, you are here because we are going to be talking about life after loss. And I felt like it was a super important thing to talk about because on a daily, I see so many people struggling with life after loss. Especially family caregivers, but as I'm finding out and what I know to be true as a CNA of 14 years, not only family caregivers who've lost people are affected by loss. I see a lot of professional caregivers struggling with loss. And as professional caregivers, that's part of our job. We deal with end-of-life care and we deal with end of life. And I feel like even though we're professionals, it still can affect us, and we still have to find a way to cope with these losses and go forward and provide the care that people need. So I felt like it was a huge thing to talk about. And the reason I brought out Kristene and Marcia is because these are two people who've had incredible journeys as family caregivers. They've experienced loss on levels that most of us are either going through or will experience. And how they have managed to cope and move forward with their lives with that loss, carrying that loss with them and how they're coping. I felt like it was super important for them to come out and to share their caregiving journeys with you and how they're figuring out how to live after a loss. So I don't know which one of you wants to go first. I think maybe Kristene. Let's go with Kristene. Okay. Kristene Thompson, come on out.
Hi.
Hi, Kristene.
Hello.
Hi. Yeah, Marcia?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
I don't have a video because my laptop is giving me problems, so you just get to hear my lovely voice today.
But we see the beautiful world, so.
Yeah.
I tell you, Cassidy, you talk about the professional caregivers deal with the loss too. I swear every week I'd go in my group, I just look at my hospice group leader and I wonder how she not just deals with her job, but then deals with the groups and us. It's amazing. You guys are amazing. So anyway, with that being said, that's a big way that I'm coping is I manage of the hospice grief counseling. I just lost, Mom had FTD. I lost her in November, and I lost my uncle, her brother, and then I lost my brother in February to cancer. So I kind of don't feel like I don't fit with a lot of other people. It wasn't just, I was at peace with Mom. When my brother died, that just changed everything. So I thought I was going to skate on that grief thing, and it slapped me right in the face hard. So as soon as my brother died,
quick, not to cut you off, but when you say skate on that grief thing, I think this is important to talk about because I feel like it ties into anticipatory grief, what you're talking about with your mom.
Okay.
And what a lot of dementia and Alzheimer's and hospice families, whether it is people with cancer, CHF, and Alzheimer's and dementia, anticipatory grief.
Well, let me explain about why I said that about with Mom. I was expecting to just be devastated. I don't do real good with suffering, and Mom was really good and in a really good place, but she was, and I was thinking maybe 6 months, and I expected it to be as bad as I hear the stories to be, and I was not. I don't think I would have dealt with that. Well, maybe I would have because I had to, but I was not looking forward to that. And then she passed before she got to that point, and so I was at peace, and I was so happy that it didn't get there. That devastation with Mom's death because I'm just happy that she was okay when she died. So that's why I said I was at peace with it, and that's the reason why. And so when I said I thought I was going to skate that grief thing is because I was okay. You know, of course I was sad, but I also had my brother to take care of, and that was a big distraction. Also, I went right into taking care of him, so that helped.
Yeah, but I mean,
For
and
sure.
you lost your mom and your brother fairly close together.
Oh, they were 3 months. Yeah,
Right.
that was my whole
I mean, that's
family.
a lot in a
That was my
small amount
whole
of time.
immediate
That's
family.
huge.
It's
So,
bad, and I went through a divorce 10 years ago, and I didn't do very good with that loss, and I just kind of shut down. So when all this bombarded on top of me and my brother passed, the first phone call I made was to the hospice grief.
I
I
love that.
knew I needed to do something before it was too bad. I mean, immediately. I mean, probably the next
Yeah.
morning. He passed in the evening, and the next morning I called that grief counselor, and I started one-on-one counseling with her 3 or 4 times before the group started.
Our
So,
bereavement services for our families are so important. And I know that a lot of people do reach out like you have to hospice bereavement services, but I feel like sometimes it takes a long time for people to be comfortable with actually speaking about that grief and that loss to
right,
somebody else.
right. They
That's
are.
why
So,
these
They're
support groups online are so important.
right.
exactly.
Groups. I didn't leave any of my dementia groups because, and I kind of thought that I wouldn't leave some of them, but I thought I would keep some of them and leave some of them. I didn't leave any of them because in my mind, because that's the only people I had contact with for 3 years. Why would I just cut you off? That made no
Right?
sense to me. All the
Don't
groups,
do
because
it. Don't do it.
right? I mean,
Well,
that
that, and
didn't
we
make
get a
any
lot of
sense.
that in our groups. And I know, I mean, and you
Right.
guys see it too, where somebody their loved one passes, and they'll make a post saying, I'm no longer a caregiver. I don't belong here. And I always try to give those people this big hug and let them know that they are. Once you're a
Right.
caregiver and you experience those things and you go through a life-changing experience that it is, that never leaves you, ever.
Right. Right.
So stay in your support groups. And
Right.
this is why what Marcia and Kristene are doing is important. And I want them to talk about this because they're working together. Of course, they're in the same local area, which if we could all be in everybody's backyard, it'd be flipping awesome. But we're not. So that's why these hangouts are important. Our support groups are important, and supporting each other are important. But I want to talk about the importance of a physical support group in dealing with loss and anticipatory grief. And you guys can explain more. You're living it. So Marcia, you guys tell me about what you're doing with the Life Raft and how it's impacting people and how people can find groups like that.
Okay. First off, I think I need to just clarify something that I've noticed, especially more now that I'm on the other side of my caregiving journey, is that so many people who come to the other side of this, they're just lost. It's like they lost their entire identity, because when we go through this journey, for me, it was 6 years of 24/7 caregiving, basically locked in a house, not much contact with anyone, save for I don't know what I would have done without Facebook groups, honest to God. And then all of a sudden, and here, Kristene brought up a good point that, she thought, her mom would be around about 6 more months. And I was thinking, as ready as we are, as prepared as we can make ourselves, as you get ready for the shock or whatever, the anticipation of it, We're never ready. It always happens quicker than we think. And that's what happened with me and Gaetana. And we deal with such an immense array of emotions that part of me was really glad, and part of me was devastated, and part of me even felt maybe a little guilty for feeling glad. You know, I mean, I think these are things all of us go through or jump on, even maybe just for a microsecond of a thought flashes through our heads, these different emotions. But I came to the ending of the journey with Gaetana already knowing what I was going to do, because I was given this vision. And I talked about it with Gaetana. She wanted me to do it, even on days she was dead tired and just really not well. She would still muster whatever to make a video with me. She tried really hard. So I had it kind of lucky, I think, compared to a lot of caregivers in that regard. And that said, it motivated me even more coming together into this, because I'm seeing people all around me just now totally lost. They don't know what to do. And this is very important. So my idea with the Life Raft was that it's for caregivers and their loved ones with dementia. We're not leaving anybody off of this boat. And the people going through it, it's a very different space, because you're so busy taking care of your loved ones. You don't really have much time for anything else. You know, we learn how to triage life. We know how to cut through all the BS. And we learn what's really important, what really matters. And honestly, that's all we have the energy for, especially towards the end of this journey. I was complete autopilot, walking, talking, Energizer. Right.
Oh yeah, I see that all of the time. It's a very, I mean, you know, as a hospice aide, it is my responsibility and my privilege. When I say that, I mean it. It's my privilege when somebody passes to go into that home or that facility and to support their families and to care for the vessel of their loved ones, just the way that I would care for them had that soul still been there. But I see people, they're almost in like shell shock. It's such a volatile time. And, you know, those emotions that you talk about, the one thing, if I really think about it hard enough, and I didn't really understand it until I saw people like that, right? And I always tell my patients' families is, be gentle with yourself. It's okay to be where you are. It's okay to feel how you feel. One thing that I experienced after the loss of my stepdad that I had never experienced, and I have lost quite a few people in my life, but I experienced anger with grief for the first time. I was flat out angry. You know, I could not believe that we were here in this way, and this is how it happened, and we were left with all this crap. And I was angry. And that was an emotion that I deal with. You know, I've dealt with loss, I've dealt with all of these other things, but I didn't know how to deal with anger. And I was actually stunned at the fact that I felt anger. I don't even really remember how I dealt with that, other than I was gentle with myself. I remember telling myself, it's okay to be angry. And I remember it was an exact year, 1 year after he passed. I just kind of said it. It's okay. I'm not angry anymore. And I just kind of let that go because I had to. But, you know, I think that being gentle with yourself and acknowledging, like, awareness is the key to everything. If you're aware that you feel that way and allow yourself to feel that way and know that it's okay, that this is just your present circumstance. It's not always going to be this way. That grief is never going to leave you, but you're not always going to be in this shell-shocked place. So I commend you guys for what you're doing. Marcia, it is what you're doing.
Oh, look.
Well, you brought up some really good points. And what I've come to at the other side of this journey is more about lessons of the caregiver. And you nailed it when you said it's okay.
Marcia, close your other tab.
Okay.
Sorry.
We love you.
There, is that
There you go.
better?
Ta-da-da! Perfect.
Yeah.
I lost my audio.
Oh,
No,
hey,
you-
now we can see your face, Marcia. You didn't lose your audio. We hear
Can
you.
you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear us? Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Can she see us?
Oh, wait a minute.
She's muted. She's muted.
Let's unmute her.
You can do that?
I think so.
Marcia.
Okay. Marcia.
Oh, man.
This is so goofy. Oh. You're muted again.
It's muted. Marcia.
Okay, Marcia.
And we're live.
Okay. Damn. Hey, you
You'll
know
fix
what?
it.
This
You know,
this is
I'm so happy with this group, this hospice group.
Yeah.
Is she talking?
No,
No, she's not.
you are.
Because I've never had to deal with any loss. So I've never been given any tools to deal with it. So I am going to this class and I love it. And I listen to everything she says. And what I'm doing is I'm coming home.
I'm going back to my other one. I'm having laptop trouble, so sorry.
No worries. Okay, Kristene. Keep rolling.
Okay. And so what I do is I come home with the handouts and the poems that I've gotten in the group, and I'm sharing in my grief groups online or in the hub or some of my main support groups, because I know everybody doesn't go to the groups or go to counseling or get help. And so that's part of my healing too, I guess.
And the most, I mean, what I want, you know, what I want to say about hospice, and I know that a lot of people have a lot of mixed feelings about hospice and what we do, but what I want to tell you is I think it's absolutely magnificent that, and we should all kiss their feet. I don't know who it was, thought to say, you know what? I think Medicare needs to cover end-of-life services.
Right.
And you want to know
Right.
what's mandatory in that? We have to provide bereavement services for our families. And that
Right.
has to be a free service. Person and who is on service and has lost their loved ones have this service available to them.
Yeah.
It's free to you.
It's funny how this worked
So
because
use it.
I'm not real sure if my brother was on hospice or not. If he was, it was for an hour, really. So
Right.
I
Well,
don't know
and
if he counted. But mom was on palliative care for less than a week. But because of that is why I have this available.
exactly.
So that was kind of a gift from her, I guess.
I believe
guess.
that. So make
Yeah.
sure you use those bereavement services if your loved one is on hospice. Even for an hour, those services are available to you. And that brings up another thing I want to talk about. It's not really tied into grief and loss, but it very well could be, because as we're talking about the fact that, you know, Kristene's mom was on palliative services for only a week prior to her passing, and that those services were still available. What I want to say is that hospice services, I know that hospice is a loaded thing, but what I want you to know about hospice services, should you choose to, or your loved one wants to come home and pass at home, that starting services earlier rather than later really allows the umbrella of services that hospice is to be utilized. And I'm not just talking about nurses' aides and nurses. I'm talking about supplies. I'm talking about hospital beds. I'm talking about
medicine.
wheelchairs.
Exactly.
Medicine.
Exactly. All of these things that you would have to purchase yourself or take your loved one to a skilled nursing facility yourself. All of these things are covered by Medicare.
All
So
all the supplies you use, they now bring you. I think is how it works. We didn't get that far, but
absolutely, and that's what I'm trying to say is that
and with ours, we didn't get that far either. But they were going to hook Mom up with volunteers, and they were interviewing me to find out what her likes were. I was so excited she was going to get to do this, and they were going to try to find, like, Mom was an artist. They were going to find somebody that was interested in art, or so they could come and just hang out with her. And I was really, it was exciting. I don't know if they all the ones in all the towns do that, but
yes, actually, to be honest, Medicare requires that they have volunteers, that we have volunteer services. And one thing I like. Right. Well, one thing that I wanted to say is that every hospice is different. It's run different, although we all abide by Medicare standards. We all abide by the same laws, same rules, and same procedures. But with anything, you're only as good as your leadership, and some of these hospices aren't run for the right reasons. And so just know that if you do choose hospice, to do your research, and if you are not happy with your care, then there are other hospices in your area, because what will happen is sometimes certain facilities or hospitals prefer a certain hospice. So that's who they're going to refer to you. But know that you have the choice to say, I don't want to use this hospice. I can use a different hospice.
A good place to start looking for a good hospice in any state you go to, there's, and they're probably named different things. In Florida and in my area, it's called Elder Options. So it's really a facility that helps you find care for your loved ones, and they cover a lot of this hospice stuff. They do training. You can find out who your ombudsman is for the area, and they know who the good places are. They know the good people. That's where I started a lot of my investigation, is right local through elder affairs.
Yeah. So Marcia, when you talk, how are you getting out the life raft in your local community, and how is that going? I guess I just really want to know, like, how's it going?
Well, it's I was happy with the launch. I was a little concerned it would be too big, and then we'd lose some ability to create bonds and intimacy. And I think those ingredients are key in any support group. And I'm really fortunate to know a woman named Karen Francis, who has an amazing story herself. I'd love to get her on one of these chats.
Anytime, Marcia, you can bring your friend.
Kristene knows what I'm talking about. She met her.
Karen is amazing.
Yes, completely. She has an amazing story herself. She suffered a traumatic brain injury. That's amazing it didn't take her life. She has this incredible 20-plus year background in social work and a master's degree specializing more in psychology. She used to place people. She would go to hospitals and assess them to see if it was a mental illness, or if in fact it was dementia or what. And she's just a wealth of knowledge. And she came down here to help with the launch, and she's given me a lot of good ideas about how to proceed forward to keep the life raft self-sustaining and supporting through a nonprofit business model mindset. I haven't
Right.
formed a 501(c) or anything yet, because the truth is, what I'm doing here in Williston, where I live, is kind of the prototype for what I want to see work, and build an example of what people can do in their own local areas.
Right.
So what I utilized to get the word out, of course, is I pounded the pavement. I went to local facilities. I said who I was, briefly what I'd been through, and what I want to do. And I'm working with the police department to help build a database of caregivers so that they can kind of, people wander with dementia.
Oh my gosh,
And the
Marcia.
chief of
Getting so
police
excited.
here, this is amazing, because his wife died of early onset Alzheimer's disease. That's what took fate on him. And he's completely on board with this. So anyway, the launch, we had 8 people there. They're caregivers themselves. Some of them do remote caregiving where they have to drive 2 hours away. Some share it with their families. Others are just in it and bless their hearts. Most caregivers are spouses caring for their loved ones. That's the number one description of the caregiver, is another spouse. So you can imagine that most of them are probably up in their 60s, 70s, and 80s themselves, trying to do this alone. And the biggest thing I've seen that so many people have trouble with, get frozen loss, is they just don't know how to maneuver through this mind-boggling, complex system that as soon as we figure it out, they change the rules. Why do they change the rules? Well, follow the money.
Yeah.
And, we're trying to get things better. Things always change. So we have to kind of stay on top of the facts. And this is part of the whole business model I'm bringing into place with the Life Raft, is to stay on top of the latest information and to utilize the best tools and the best minds I can find, but bring it home local. And then it's the heart piece. It's the telling of our stories. It's the sharing of what works and what doesn't work. It's the building of trust, and building just a local little base here where, hey, I have a phone list and I have addresses of people that live, within a half an hour of my own home. Hey, my sister-in-law won't come help me today. Well, I have this list of caregivers. Maybe I can call one of them. We learn to help each other. That's what this amazing group of people, Kristene's one of them, Karen Francis is, this solid core of caregivers, most of whom are still actually in the middle of caregiving, have done. We don't just come online and talk and rant and rave and share our problems and vent and release our frustrations and share ideas. We actually take action. We've gotten together, we've mailed supplies to each other, we've gotten together to meet as caregivers, and this is all part of what really it's easier to do at a local level, face to face sometimes, than online. And I say this, if we can do this online, just imagine what we can do right in our own backyards. So this thing is new. I mean, I just launched. It's building, it's growing, and it can only get better.
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited about what you're doing, because it is, I would have to say, and I said this to myself the other day, I started the Hub as a platform to share my experience and my knowledge and my support with people. And I didn't really know what I wanted it to be or how I wanted it to grow, but I knew that if I have the information and the experience and the knowledge to share something with you, then it's my responsibility as a human being and as a caregiver to make sure that I share those things with you. And I love what you're saying and I love what you're doing, because I said to myself just the other day, what I want the Hub to be more than just an online thing. I would love the Hub to be, I got this from the Caregivers Hub. whether it's knowledge or whether it's a support group or whether it's a supply or whatever. I mean, I was even thinking about supplies. Holy crap balls. Do you know that most of these people, we think about end stage, you know, our end stage Alzheimer's patients and dementia patients, when they are end stage, they are occupying, they're bed bound. They're occupying these beds for a long time, long enough for the people renting them to actually have purchased them. So a lot of these DME companies will not take them back.
We did
And
it.
now you're stuck with the hospital bed.
Marcia, don't we have a takeoff group for supplies?
Yes, we do.
Don't
We
we?
started a
We
little
did.
extra. I think we call it a dinghy full of crap.
I don't know.
or
I don't go
something like that.
A dinghy full of crap.
Taken. So I don't
Well,
utilize it.
that's what we do. Like we have excess supply here. Oh, I could use some of that,
Absolutely.
so we'll mail it to them.
Well, and you know, I mean, I've seen it a million times, and it, you know, for some reason, this always happens to me. It's like, okay, I know that a person is transitioning. I don't know how long this is going to take, but you need supplies, and I know it takes 3 days from my order to you. So it never fails that by the time they get those supplies, they no longer need them. And they're like, well, Cassidy, can you take these? Can you donate them? And I have to tell them, no, you know, we don't take back supplies. Whatever you do with them is up to you.
Right.
And then they end up going wherever, you know. I hope people don't throw them away.
Mailing to me, I'm stockpiling supplies because this thing I'm building, the life raft, it's just the beginning. And once we run it out and perfect this prototype kind of thing, I'm going to take this idea on the road. I'm going to be hitting little towns across America that are in the same boat here, where in my county, we're like this little lost, forgotten county where 30 minutes one way there's support and resources, and 30 minutes another way there is, because it's a bigger city. Well, what about us? So what I'm doing is I'm intertwining the resources from these two outlying counties into my county. I'm getting in their faces. I'm going out. I'm talking to them. I'm meeting with them. I'm inviting them to come share in. I tell them, look, I have space. Will you please come do this where we live here? Because here's the facts. In Dementiaville, 30 minutes away might as well be 300 light years. If you can't make it, 30 minutes away, if you can't even get out of your house to the grocery store, how are you going to go to another county to get help?
Right.
And counties, they can't go to another county that easy unless we do this networking thing where it's like kind of below this agency level where there's so much bureaucracy going on. I'm trying to cut out some of the bureaucracy.
Bullshit. Some of the
simple
bullshit.
Yes. Yes. I'm actually I'm being polite with my words, so.
I'm not.
Kristene can vouch.
I'm not. It's Sunday, and this is the hangout, and I curse like a sailor, unfortunately. I'm sorry.
Yes.
It happens,
That's
but this is my hangout. This is my hangout, and I'm cussing today. But you want to know what, and this is something I want to talk about. I see a lot of posts of people who are at the end of their ropes, and sometimes they're using wordage and verbiage such as, I can't take this anymore, I don't want to even get out of bed in the morning, and basically all of the wordage spells like crisis mode. Right. And I've seen everybody's always throwing out links to crisis lines and all of these different resources. And I understand, and I encourage people to come to the hub and share your vents, share your frustrations. It means that if you're coming here to talk about it, you're not holding it inside, and I want that.
Exactly.
But here's something that I also want to impress upon you. There comes to a point when you have to help yourself. People can be there for you, and they can offer you links, and they can answer that phone call at 12 o'clock. But if you don't reach out to people and utilize those resources, like these support groups, like, hospice bereavement services, if you're not making the initiative within your life to accept that help and take that help and open yourself up to that, there's no way that anybody can help you. And I know that that sounds harsh.
It's
but
made
it's the
such a big
truth.
difference, Cassie, for me. It really, really has, because I know I would hold stuff in, and I can go to this group. An example, triggers. We've talked about triggers
Yes.
that upset the people that are grieving. Okay, and I was having some happening, and I can talk to somebody online about it or post in my groups, and I did, but they still happened. But I would go to my group and talk face to face about it, and they wouldn't happen again. And that's not necessarily going to happen for everybody, but it's hard for me to go in and talk with all these people I don't know and don't have a relationship with, but I'm making myself do it because I saw it work once, so I know it's working, and it's making a big difference.
Well,
Kristene,
to talk about it. And some of those people can't talk, and I understand that too. But
that's why I really treasure the small groups. And I'm not putting down big groups at all, because, hey, that's where I started. Part of my story is a recovery story. And for years, I was using Facebook recovery groups to keep me sane and well during 6 years of being locked in my house, caregiving. And I woke up one day and I thought, God, what an idiot, Marcia. All these years you've been using recovery groups, and you're not even in one support group for caregiving. So it was like this Homer Simpson Doe moment. And that my world changed on that day, because, again, what prompted all of this is I came home one day, I hit full tilt anger.
Yeah.
And in dementia caregiving, our grief is all over the map. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 easy, clean steps that Elizabeth Kubler-Ross gave us. It's all over the map, baby. And I can have all of those emotions in 5 seconds time altogether. It's not simple. And so the thing is, I came into these big groups with thousands of people, and I made some connections, but pretty much I was like, I'm a private person. I am. And so I didn't follow a lot of the stories, because I was just looking for some answers, really. It's like, okay, how do I do this? How do I do that? And then I got thrown into a small group of people that were actually kicked out of the bigger groups. Because why? Because a lot of people carry around judgment. Right? It's like, oh, wait a minute, you're misunderstanding my vent. No, because I said I'm pissed off and I want to kill her, doesn't mean I'm going to. I'm merely venting. And then people get all dramatic and they freak out and they go call the police on somebody in another state they don't even know, and it's none of their business.
Exactly.
And I'm like, what is all this? I'm like, I'm not playing this game. So I'm all for the small groups, because this is where you build the trust. This is where you start to actually get to know people. It's not just some Facebook cover photo. It's a real person, flesh and blood, with tears and sweat and joy and laughter. And this is what the caregivers need. They need to get back that piece of connection to the world, because we lose it. And when we start losing that, that's when we start losing our own self-identities. And that's why when people come to the end of this thing and they're no longer caregiving anymore, there's so many people who are just totally lost. They're like, I don't know what to do now. I'm nobody. And that's so not true. And the thing is, I have friends that, like myself, have decided, look, I'm on fire about this now. I will never shut up about dementia, ever. But some people come to the end of it and they go, I'm done. I've had it. I'm totally fried, and I can't do that anymore. And guess what? That's fine too, because there's so many things in the world to be done. Have at it, baby. The secret I learned in the middle of caregiving and at the end of it is that we got to follow our hearts. We have to open up that vessel inside ourselves that tells us this is what our true passion is. This is what we love. And it's pretty simple. If it makes you smile and feel good, will follow that breadcrumb, baby, and follow it wherever it leads. Trust the process. Trust it. If it feels
And it's
good and it's
okay to
filled
be
with
where you
love,
are.
then you're okay. If it makes you fearful, then maybe don't go that direction.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It is. It's okay to be where you are. And you know, I don't know. I don't know what I would do if I wasn't a caregiver. It's the only thing that I know. And it's the only thing that I love it. You know, besides all the policy and the procedure and the healthcare bullshit that comes with this industry, it has been an absolute honor and a joy to provide end of life care to people and to take care of them in the way that their families want them cared for and their facilities want them cared for and the way that they want to be cared for. And I think that we just working together is the best way. And
Absolutely.
that's what these hangouts are for. You want to come and you want to talk about something, please reach out to myself, Cassidy Bastine, and I'm in the hub. I'm on Facebook, the caregivers hub, not the caregivers hub, caregivers hub fan page. Are all ways for you to plug into the caregivers hub. I agree with Marcia about huge groups. Because we've all been kicked out of them, you know? And that's how I started the Caregivers Hub support group it was crazy. I would write this beautiful, impactful, knowledgeable post about something or offer a resource of education for people. And I would get met with, you know, this content is unacceptable, and it gets deleted, and then you get deleted. And I thought to myself, what the hell? How is it a support group if you're cutting people off from help? It's not a support group. So when I started the Caregivers Hub, I was like, come as you are. I will take all of these rejects. We are a ragtag bunch of rejects, and I'm okay with that.
And, you know, here's the other thing. Even in small groups, I'm in one, it only has like 42 people in it. Mm-hmm. And even in this small group where we're close, we're tightly knit, and it's magic, and there's a whole lot of love there, we still go through these same emotions and issues and triggers, Kristene, use that word, that they really shake us up. But when you're in a small group like that, you're able to kind of look past some of your emotions about things and go, look, you know what? We care about each other. That's what's important. And that piece right there makes every one of us in this little tiny group willing to be open-minded and look at stuff and look at our own reactions. And whether we agree or disagree or whatever, we still come back together and say, look, we're keeping this thing afloat because it works. At the end of the day, we love each other and we're here to support each other. Yeah. And it's truly amazing. It's hard to do that same thing when you're dealing with numbers of some of these groups that are like 14,000 people in it or more.
I know. And, you know, the Caregivers Hub has grown to 1,200 members, which is crazy that it's that big right now. But
it still doesn't work. It was 400 magic.
But see, this is what I'm saying, is your leadership is everything. Your leadership is everything. I refuse to let the hub become a place where people judge each other and bash each other and not support each other. Maybe I police my group a little bit different than other people do, but I'll be damned if a caregiver is going to come to the hub and feel chastised and berated and belittled. Now, I think on the whole level, when it comes to us as caregivers and needing support and supporting each other, first of all, we have to understand that we're all going through our own journeys, and we all have our own caregiving preferences and solutions and things of that nature. And maybe they're different from the way that you would do things. But I think that respecting the fact that you're a caregiver and you're doing the same job in a different way and supporting each other on both ends of that and respecting each other and knowing it's okay to disagree with each other, but at the end of the day, we respect each other, because if we can't support each other, I mean, it's all pointless.
Pretty much.
That's
Pretty much.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Absolutely.
I want to bring up one other thing about grief and loss that I think is real important for people that come to the other side of this, think about and try to understand. You know, a lot of times we use the word grief, grieving, and mourning interchangeably. And I read an article that really prompted me to stop and think about it quite a bit, and I have to agree
Did I give it to you?
with the article. I don't remember. I get so many articles that it's hard for me
Yeah, I
to
probably gave it to
remember
you.
where they come from. But basically, it said that, you know, what I just said, that a lot of people use those two terms interchangeably, but there's actually a difference, a very important difference.
Oh, it's backwards, isn't
I'm
it?
not sure, but it said that, you know, grieving to me, and I'm going to put it in my words, but it came from this article pretty much, so I'm not taking credit for it. Grieving is kind of like the whole package, the story, the whole thing we go through, all of that. That's grief. Mourning is different, and here's the difference. Mourning is a conscious act. It's a choice that I make, kind of, in a way. And what it does is it lends meaning to my grief. It's an act of respect. It's an act of showing that all this grief I had for this person who's no longer here and suffering, it gives their lives meaning. It makes it kind of sacred and special. And so it's important to mourn. It's important when you come to the other side of this to take the time. If you're feeling like, you know, here's what happens to me. I'm going through my day. I'm fine. I plug in every day. I start my day every day with a gratitude list, and it kind of, my day unfolds from that. That said, even though I run around pretty much like a happy camper, and I pretty much live in a happy place, grief is like the wind. It is like a wave, and it comes out of nowhere sometimes and just slams you on your ass. And I could be just fine, and the next thing I know, I read something, a trigger, and I'm sitting here bawling my eyes out, or my eyes are just leaking tears, and I'm feeling it. And you know what? It's okay. I need to allow space for that. Yeah, it's not the most comfortable place to live, but what happens is if I allow myself to have that space and time and let grief have its opportunity to be honored with my mourning of it, it gives it meaning and importance. And then I come back around a couple minutes later, maybe an hour later, or maybe even a day later, and I gain some other piece of heart knowledge from it. And then I'm able to take that heart piece and share it on with other people. And for me personally, this whole after journey, it's like all I could do every day after Donna died was pretty much just, you know, wake up. I was numb. Let's face it. I was not really feeling it yet. I just had to allow it. But I thought about it every day, and I thought about the life raft every day. And I've learned in my life, if I got something that I can't get out of my mind, then I better start looking at that and doing something with it. And
Yeah.
so I could only do a few things a day, and if I was tired, I'd go rest. If I needed to go cry, I would go cry. If I needed to go play, I would play. I would do whatever I needed to. I decided it's time for me to be the care receiver.
Absolutely.
And that is
that's
a
not
hard
selfish.
thing
So many
for us.
caregivers think, oh, that's so selfish of me to feel that way or think that way. And no, it isn't, because if I can't take care of me, then what the hell good am I to anybody else?
Right.
And so
Well,
that
and you know,
kept me going.
that brings me up to self-care, you know, and I made a post. I don't know if anybody saw it, but I made a post about how I was choosing to go to a barbecue as opposed to delaying my
I
barbecue
saw it.
and my family
saw it.
time to do this hangout or to do the teleseminar. And I was approached from a different perspective about self-care. And when I wrote the post, I had the importance of self-care in it. And I went through a range of emotions when I saw this post. First of all, I in my original post, I hadn't really acknowledged those that don't have the time or the freedom to go to a barbecue or go to a movie or go to a support group. And I was approached about it in a way, it made me automatically feel bad. Like I felt like, oh shit. Like there are a million people out there who have absolutely nobody and no resources and no anything. And it was brought up that, one person, not in our group, but just a general consensus, her emotions around it was, people need to stop telling me to practice self-care because, affronted. I'm not an idiot. I know that I need to do these things, but I don't have the resources and I don't have the time and I don't have all of these other things to make that happen because you're physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually caring for somebody. And so this is what I've come to the conclusion of. I understand that most family caregivers are in that spot. But I think as hard as it is for us as human beings providing care to somebody else to make time for ourselves, we have to. We shouldn't feel bad about it. We shouldn't feel guilty about those things, even though those emotions come. Acknowledging, okay, I feel guilty about it, but in this moment, in this time, I'm going to make this space for myself. You make space for your mourning. That is a sacred space. That's so right. Make a sacred space for your self-care. Mourning, I love that. Mourning is self-care. Mourning is self-care when it comes to life after loss. Because we are all going to go through it. We all go through it. So know that you're not alone. Know that you have people like Marcia and myself and Kristene who are creating ripples and waves of resources for you as a caregiver to come to. And I don't know what else I have to say about this other than I love what you guys are doing. I love that we talk about these things in these Caregivers Hub Hangouts. Any and all caregivers are welcome. Any topics you want to talk about, let's talk about them.
And ask, please.
Yes.
Ask. Listen, I've learned in life that if I never ask, the answer's always going to be no. So just
exactly.
ask.
I learned that a long time ago.
Yeah, just ask.
And what's the word?
It's simple.
It'll be no. Not a big deal. Most of the time the answer is not no.
Right. And so you know what? Every week we have a thing called IDT. And what that is in hospice is interdisciplinary team meeting, right? Where all of us sit down, we all talk about our cases, we all talk about who's being recertified and who's being decertified and why. We sit down with doctors, social workers, chaplains, volunteer coordinators, volunteers, bereavement services. And there's a specific space that's designed for us as clinicians. I mean, we get a little bell. Ding! This special space is for us as clinicians to say, hey, I had this case and it was really hard. And this is what happened. And it's a safe, non-judgmental space for us as clinicians to do that. And every single week, our bereavement coordinators give us quotes. And I'm always getting them in my email. And I'm always kind of just like, oh, I read it, I like it, I trash it. I read it, I like it, I trash it. So I think what I'm going to start to do is I'm going to start putting those quotes into the hub every Tuesday when I get them.
I love it.
And you know what,
Excellent.
Kristene? You have a lot of handheld materials, don't you?
I do. I have all my papers from hospice. I do. And what I do is she gives them to me, and then I find them online so that I can share them.
Okay.
Send them to me because I'm stockpiling. I stockpile all this stuff. You never know when you might need that piece of information.
Okay.
They're in the survivors group. I post them in there.
You post
I
them
see
where?
them in the hub every now and then too.
The survivor group. It's once a week, but last week I forgot to go. Does that mean I'm healing? I don't know.
Well, Christine, it was kind of a busy, crazy week too.
I didn't know what day it was.
Is that kind of like when you no longer want to grab your walker, you're ready to walk without it?
Right.
I don't know.
No, I was sad. No. I was sad I didn't go. I just didn't know what day it was.
Yeah, but you know what?
And
My thought is it was a meeting you didn't need anyway, or you would have been there.
Right.
The universe always provides.
Yes, it does.
It does.
Learn that.
It does.
So,
yes, I have written.
ladies, you guys are more than welcome. You're more than welcome.
What was your thought?
Well, I think we should build a file.
I was just going to say that, Marcia.
Build a file, that we have that in the groups. All the groups have a place to build files.
Absolutely.
And I'm trying to build one up myself, a couple groups I have. But it's a great resource. It's right there. You don't have to go scrolling through hundreds of pages of group conversations to find that one article. You can go up to the file, or now they moved it over to the left, I think.
Right. It is on the left. And you can't access those on the mobile apps at all. So if you're on your phone or tablet, you won't be able to find those.
Yeah,
you have to be on a
laptop or
computer.
desktop. I'm a desktop girl.
Yeah. So I encourage you guys, anybody in the hub, if you have a resource that you want to share and you don't want it to get lost, go on your desktop, go into the Caregivers Hub or whatever. I mean, we have a lot of people who are part of the Life Raft and of Incredibly Short Memory. So we have a lot of people from other caregiving groups. Go into your groups and create files. I personally have no problem if you want to take stuff from the hub and put it in your own files. I give no shits. I encourage you to do it.
Yeah, and please feel free to add files to any of my groups because I'm not one of those admins that are like, okay, what are you doing in my group? It's pretty much, this is our group. You got something good, share it. That's how I feel about it. And that's how I feel about caregiving in general. It's like we all got to collaborate and work together. This is not a competition. It's like we need to put down all the differences and look at our common ground and go, okay, what can we do with this to find some answers?
And I find that for my only rule in my group really and truly is I don't want to see anybody bashing each other. I don't want to see anybody going crazy train off the rails. And every now and then we get a few. And, respectfully, I'm always like, okay, so I understand how you feel and it's okay to feel that way, but we have to respect our fellow caregiver, blah, 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 blah. And then finally, if that shit's not working, they get the kibosh. And that's just how I feel about it. So that's my rule for the hub. Let's just all support each other and be good humans and create files and do good things and create awareness. And on that note, it is almost 10 after 6. And so next month, I know, right? This hour went by.
Let's go shining where you're at.
What?
It's time for us to go to bed.
It is time for you.
No.
But so make sure. So on the first Sunday of every single month, we have these recorded Hangouts. And next month, I've arranged, I don't know if any of you know who Vince Zangaro is. If you've been following him and his journey with his dad, providing his dad care through his Alzheimer's journey. And he's become an incredible, incredible advocate for Alzheimer's and dementia. He's also started a nonprofit organization called Alzheimer's Music Fest. And
I love it.
I know.
Nice.
And so he, every single year, gets local musicians. He's based in Georgia, and they raise funds for Alzheimer's awareness and to help families with Alzheimer's via music because he's a musician. So I've arranged for Vince to come out and talk about his journey, talk about how he's advocating and creating awareness, because he's been approached, he's worked with our government on resources for Alzheimer's and dementia, caregivers in general. So I feel like it's really important to bring him out and let him share all of his goods with you. So that will happen the first Sunday in July. This is July, first Sunday in July. Last Sunday in June, we will have the Caregivers Hub teleseminar. You can dial in on the phone. And cool. Anybody want to come out and speak about stuff, just let me know. We'll arrange it. So that's all I've got for you, lovelies. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a support. And thank you for all that you do as a caregiver. Remember, it is okay to be where you are. And it is okay. It's okay to be where you are. Right. In every step of your journey.
Cassidy.
And we're here to support you.
Thank you. You rock, girlfriend. You rock.
Oh, I love you guys. You know, this is the soul work that we do. This is the shit that matters. So
that's it. I can't wait to talk with this guy Vince, because man, he's Georgia. He's my neighbor. We can make some magic happen, I think. And what a venue! Music speaks to the heart.
I know. I told him, I said, I feel like this Alzheimer's Music Fest thing is going to be a huge thing, and that really it's an incredible platform, because I love music. I mean, like beyond love music.
Yeah, me too. One of the few things that works with the loved ones, you know?
Absolutely, 100%.
Right, it speaks to the heart.
Across the board.
I know. When I did activities in the Alzheimer's unit, that was my main thing. I could get 30 people in a circle and we could sing Amazing Grace or You Are My Sunshine, and people who don't interact and people who don't speak and people who are mute, they just open up like the most beautiful flowers you've ever seen. And I, to the end of my days, I will always love my end stage Alzheimer's and dementia patients. They are the most beautiful pearls, and we need to create more awareness and keep doing what we're doing, because we need to give them voices that our society strips from them.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So, all right, you guys, I'm going to go hang out with my love. So I'm going to skedaddle. All right. Peace out,
Thanks,
ladies.
Cassidy.
You're so welcome.
Kristene, I love you, girlfriend. I love you both.
All right.
Bye.
Check you later.